Hi again, everyone. I am here with Craig Moss, and we are going to go over timeline.
Hi, I'm Craig. I'm a PM for Core Customer Service, and I'll be demoing the features we released for the timeline in April. And these aren't limited to customer service. These are across all our apps. So any app that has timeline will see these improvements that we've made. I'm going to be going over two key areas or two key kind of features that we introduced, but then I'll touch on a couple other ones that are also part of the work we did. The two key ones are going to be we introduced search, and then we also added rich text notes into timeline. So I'll go ahead and just kind of start off and kind of walk through the different functionality and kind of highlighting where things didn't used to be before now, or how they were different from in pre-April to April. So let's go ahead and get started with what shows up right at the top. So prior to April, we did not have the ability to do a search. We've introduced a search capability that looks in the title or the subject of your timeline records, and then also we'll search in the description or body of the record. So we're looking to expand the different search areas across time, but to start with, those were the ones that we could go after and make sure we nailed those for April. So let's just kind of pick some text that we want to see. Let's see. If we go down, I'm trying to find, of course, I didn't really prep for this, so let's see. Let's look for green. Seems like a reasonable one. So we hit enter, we get back now. These happen to be all the same from the same email thread, but these all have the word green in them because if you expand it somewhere down here, you have green marks. So that is, so it's any literal keyword match across your timeline results. A cool part of this is it will stack with any of your other filters. So if you have filters already in place, so let's say we're filtering for activities, and then within activities, we have, I'm waiting to see it'll come up with counts here in a second. So for tasks, so I'm just going to filter for activities and tasks. And so now I have two tasks and I want to, okay, so I'm going to search for the keyword fix because now it should only be returning one of these. So what I'm just trying to show is it will stack on top of your existing filter. So if you put some filters in place, you can then, so you could say, hey, I just want to look at emails, but now within emails, I can quickly type a search to actually zero in on exactly what I remember saying in one of the emails or something. So super cool functionality, and really interested or really feel that it should be a great addition to the timeline feature sets. So that is our search capability. In addition, actually, now that we're here, let me clear this filter really quick. Let's see. So down here, it's reloading at the moment. We introduced another functionality, another filter, so to allow you to differentiate between system-generated posts and user-generated posts. So what I'm trying to figure out, let me actually just put a post in here while we're. So add that. So let's see. All right, so we should, in a second here, we should see posts go up to 2. And now if we go down here, this didn't used to be here. Pre-April, there was no way, if your posts, like you couldn't get rid of the system generated posts. So right now we'll just say, hey, let me just see these 2 posts. So you'll see one is an automated auto post, and the other one is the post that I just created. So if you wanted to get rid of all the posts that were system generated, you would just check the user's checkbox, and then you would only see user generated posts, or vice versa. If you only wanted to see the auto post, you could select that box instead. So it gives you the ability to reduce noise, whichever way the noise comes for your business needs. So the post filter is something that's been added. In addition to that, we introduced the ability to enable rich text notes. And we actually have it turned on by default. It is something that can be turned off by an admin if your organization is not in a place where you want to utilize rich text notes, but the default April behavior will be to have rich text notes now enabled. So this is a test is going to be my title. The title does not allow for rich text formatting, but the main body content does. So this is. So if you happen to have previewed the podcast with email prior to this, some of this will be overlap. Formatting capabilities between email and rich text notes are the same with one current noticeable exception, and that's images. So we're working for a future release on enabling the ability to have inline images. Right now, images have been removed from the formatting toolbar just because they were increasing. We need to have a pattern so we don't bloat the note size. And so we're working on that pattern right now. And once we have that enabled, we'll be able to implement rich text with inline image support across all activities. That's something looking forward for a future release we are targeting. But for this one, we have all the rich formatting capabilities without the images. So just letting you know now, so there's not a surprise as you're playing around with it. So let me actually grab some content. And here I'll change the font color to something else. And then in this section, actually just let me do this one. I'll change this red one to super big. Okay, so we have the ability to, of course, add formatting, which we didn't have before. The formatting capabilities are kind of mirrored off of what is available in Outlook Web Access. So you have things that are common, such as copy formatting, which is very well known. We brought in, there's 68 fonts to select from, so you have a wide range of fonts available to you. The normal text sizes, bold, italics, underline, and then you have font background, font color, bullets, numbers, indent, outdent, block quote, alignment. You can insert a link. You can also like automatically, like if you're typing, it'll, or a space after the HTTP or HTTPS with the link, it'll automatically create a hyperlink that you can then subsequently edit. But it's a really cool experience to be able to, one less action you have to take. We're trying to make this an easy and kind of desirable piece of functionality we're introducing. So let's see. So the spot where I was doing this formatting was to highlight the point that, like, if I highlight within my big red text and then I click the copy formatting and I paste it, it will go ahead and take that and bring it down. If I do inside where I have just regular bolded text, it will also honor that. And if I take and do the plain and then go over something that I'd already done, it honors all of this. So just that flexibility should be great if you're trying to format things that you've pasted in. Also to note, formatting from like Word, Excel, and just HTML content should be very well persisted between your copy and paste scenarios. So, please let us know if you're seeing something that's different than that. But the underlying capabilities, again, this is CK Editor underneath as the technology that we're currently using for rich text across Dynamics. So the nice part is this is the same core functionality that like knowledge management uses. It's the same thing that in like marketing campaign builder they use. It's what we're using in email, and if you even look in like Power Platform, underneath their rich text experiences are also a CK editor as the technology that's driving that. So there's commonality across that. It's creating just HTML payload. Something that's special that in it was, I guess there was no rich text in Notes before, so this is hard to know a comparison, but the rich text capabilities in email, the table functionality was very limited. Once you actually pasted a table in, when you right clicked on it, it looked like this, just your standard browser right click. However, with the work we did, you now have the ability to select cells within a table. You can right click, and now you get functionality around modifying the properties of a cell. You can now do things like setting the background color. You could actually also set different border options if you wanted to, etc. But the cool part is your formatting capabilities work within the context of the table. Your right click gives you table relevant functionality. Pasted tables, same thing applies. So now the only difference between this and email is images. So, and again, future release, we will get images. We're actively working on it right now. It just didn't make it in time for April, unfortunately. So this is the rich text capability. I think our customers should really find this useful. And if they don't find it useful, they can go into advanced settings. And we're just going to go into administration and system settings. And now on the general tab, scroll down. Down at the bottom, we have enable rich text notes and timeline. Just uncheck that, okay your way back out, and you will no longer have the rich text notes enabled. Now, when you do that, if you go back in here and you add the note and you've turned off rich text notes, you will see the literal, I'm kind of one, okay, so it's still on for this. Let's see if I actually, I'm actually going to turn it off and show you because this bears understanding. So, okay, I've turned it off. I just need to refresh my page. Okay, so what we're going to see is we'll see the literal HTML tags in the content. So this is really why we introduced the ability so you can turn it off if you're in a mode where your business is spanning between like web client and UCI, because this is what is actually underneath the text. So if you are in this position, you should disable it for your organization. But if your organization is a UCI focused, or you're not splitting notes access between web client and UCI, you definitely would want to leave it on. But you do have the option. But I wanted to call out that the consequence of enabling it for an organization that's splitting between web client and UCI is you will see that the literal HTML, the actual payload of the content. So now let me finish up with just a couple of the other changes that we made to the timeline. Turn it back on so it looks nice again. So now we're back, rich text, all's good. Okay, so the other ones, if you weren't familiar with the kind of the layout from before, it might not be as easy to notice, but prior to April, the icon to denote what type of record it was appeared over on the right-hand side. And then when you hovered, it would move down with the date below. What we've done is we've basically, we wanted to give it a consistent location so you always know where to look for it. So it's always upper left corner of the record. So this is where, as you scan down, you'll see all the different types of timeline records at a glance, and that's consistent. We also got very value add, good feedback that it makes no sense to remove the timestamp from timeline records, which we absolutely agreed with. So we've corrected that. And so now the date and time always exist in the bottom right-hand corner, and will always display the long date format. So again, we'll take your personalization settings and we apply them, but it will be the long date version of that, which will include the time. Anything you do on the current day will also, this is just kind of the way the system works, will sometimes only show the time and it won't have the date on it. So, but that's actually more of a Dynamics platform thing. However, whenever you look at old records, you'll always see both the date and the timestamp. Super important, because if you're looking like, hey, what was the email response between these things? It's very hard to determine if you don't have the timestamp to actually see it was 30 minutes or it was 4 hours. So that's another big change. Now, the other, I think this might be actually the final one that we introduced, was the status tag. So now at a glance, you can look down and see active records versus overdue records versus closed records. So emails that have been sent or received are considered closed. A draft state email is considered active, and also represented by the icon here. But, and this was sent email. The little icon comes from the top when it's received. So this was kind of an oversight from what was available in web client. So we've corrected it by having these tags available. At this time, the tags can't be turned off. So we're also interested in feedback if people have a problem with them, or if that's something they would like to see as we go forward in a future release. And the naming on these is actually aligned to our filters. So if you look in the filters and you look under the statuses, you'll see the same exact statuses available. So the idea is, if you filter by active, you're going to see all the ones that have the active status flag on them, as opposed to seeing a mixture of other things. And of course, notes and posts don't have status because they inherently don't have the construct of a state. So again, if you wanted to limit it only to see the activities that are active, you would check both of those boxes. So, all right. And then the other thing you're kind of seeing here, which probably isn't quite as noticeable, is that we used to, when you actually checked this box, we would destroy this whole pane and then rebuild it. So as part of April, we also persist it, so you actually can interact with it while it's reloading the next set of records. So if you check one and then you go, oh, I actually wanted to also check that one, you're able to do that, and then it just cancels the first request and replaces it with the second. So you'll get back the end result that you're after without having to re-expand or to re-find where you were. So that, in probably more words than it should have taken, are all the features that we introduced for Timeline. Happy to get any feedback that you might have on it, but hope you've enjoyed this kind of demo. Back to you, Leslie.
Awesome. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. As Craig mentioned, please use the comment fields below on this video if you would like to have a deeper dive or any particular functionality uh, around the timeline for us to go into a deeper dive. Let us know. Like our video. Let us hear from you if we're on track with what you're looking for, and if what we're providing here is helping you with your customers. Thank you, and we'll talk with you soon.